Yeah, so the other day I was on Netflix and I saw Clueless was on there, and I think they had taken Clueless off like for like a while, and I guess they just put it back on. So I watched it for like the first time in like 10 years. So I used to watch it a lot when I was a kid because it came out in 1995, so I was like 5 years old. And so I watched it then, and I kind of had like the same feelings like watching it, like maybe when I was like 17, 18. But when I watched it the other day, I kind of picked up on a lot more of the jokes and stuff like that. But the one thing that's always been clear to me is that Jesus Christ, Alicia Silverstone was a fucking fox. She was fine as hell. So I texted Mike and I told him I was like, yeah, like man, Alicia Silverstone's like bad as hell back in the 90s, man. And he was like, yeah, like Suge, maybe you should do like a ode or a tribute to Alicia Silverstone. And we talked about. I was like, man, like I could talk about Alicia Silverstone for days, but let's talk about like all of these chicks from like the '90s that were like everywhere and were like beautiful, but you don't really see them too much today, or you see them like you know in recurring things, but you don't see them as regularly as you did in the 90s. And then, like another thing I told him was like Britney Murphy, God rest her soul, like they tried to make her out to be like the ugly duckling, but like in looking back at it as an adult, like Britney Murphy was like probably the second finest chick in the movie.
Agreed.
So, yeah. So
Britney Murphy.
You had Stacey Dash and you had the redhead.
yeah, I don't know her name.
She was actually in the show. I think.
Yeah, she was like the only. Her and Stacey Dash were like the only two people that continued on the TV show, right?
Kidding me? I didn't know that. I didn't know she did that too.
Yeah, Stacey Dash was on there. They replaced Cher and they replaced like the father twice. Twice. I think it was like 2 seasons long, and they had like her dad was like the bad guy from Harlem Nights in one season. And then the second season, it was like Eric Roberts, or it was somebody that looked like Eric Roberts. It was like a handsome dude. It just didn't make sense to me. Yeah, bro. So
good point about the ugly duckling thing though, because as a kid, I always liked the one that was less, less ideal, whatever, like the vision of like the beauty, little quirky. I like the quirky ones.
Yeah, so I just like started compiling a list of names like off the top of my head, and in collaborating with these gentlemen here, came up with a bunch of other lists. And then like I said, a lot of these people, like they'll pop up, a lot of these women, they'll pop up in different things like you see now, and then you just remember about them. So my list grew like a lot between, what was that, Wednesday or Thursday and now. So of course, Alicia Silverstone, let's talk about her. Like The Crush, we talked about the film where she was like a teenager and she was like infatuated with her neighbor, and it was like a
Lolita.
Yeah, it was
Lolita
like a
character.
Yeah, it was like a thriller, because those type of films were very popular in like the 90s, like Poison Ivy and Basic Instinct and stuff like that, with like the femme fatale. And then she was
right. And then as a kid, as a kid, so like The Crush was one of the movies where I first saw her in, but it was one of those movies where like you'd see it late at night, and it was like, looking back, it was like a hard PG-13. It wasn't this, wow, this is some pretty hardcore stuff. And then you're just like, that stuck with me. When you're like 5, 6, 7, I'm watching that and I'm like, wow, this is some scandalous stuff I'm watching here. But looking back, it's like a hard PG-13, but it always stuck with me. And I always remember that movie being Alicia Silverstone and that type of, and same with all the other women that stuck with us all those times, just because it happened at a young age and they just stay with you. So besides her, what else? Who else came to mind? Shug or Joel?
For me, honestly, it was not so much TV stars. It was more like wrestlers and they weren't even like really 90s wise. But like wrestlers like Trish Stratus and Lita, Stacy Keibler, those are like ones that like I really were looking at, not so much TV stars. But in TV, I can name Raven Simone, Tia and Tamara, just a few of them, But mostly just like a lot of wrestlers, just like hotties from wrestling. It's like, where are they now?
Yeah, Tia and Tamara when I was a kid. But I was more of a Tia guy than a Tamara guy.
I really couldn't tell the difference.
I could tell them apart. They weren't identical. I could tell them apart.
Okay.
I was fucking around, but yeah.
I was Roger. You know, I'll take it anywhere. I'll get it with Tia and Tamara. But
identify with Roger.
Yeah, you know what's mad funny? Joel, you know the song "Real Sisters" from Future?
So, I don't know that song.
You don't know the song "Real Sisters"? Well, people that listen, like I seen like a meme, and it had a picture of Roger, and like the hook of that song is like, Future says he's fucking with girls. He don't care if like they're real sisters. So it's like a picture of Roger, and he was like, it was like the first dude that didn't care that they was real sisters. So that shit always used to make me laugh. But before I end, we stopped talking about Alicia Silverstone. What I had told Mike was like her career or popularity kind of waned after Batman and Robin. No pun intended on the Wayne part. But even in that movie, like Joel Schumacher, God rest his soul, kept it like consistent because they would have the over the top scene of them putting on like their suits, and he'd do like a close up of like their chest and like their butt, and he'd do that for like the dudes because he was gay, but he did it also for Alicia Silverstone. So I always appreciate Joel Schumacher for doing that. But Boogie Nights, Heather Graham.
Yeah, so I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I was kind of ranking them like, I said like what did I say? I said like Alicia Silverstone was like a poor man's Drew Barrymore, and then like a Drew Barrymore. Or no, I said like Heather Graham's a poor man's Alicia Silverstone. So I said I was like doing like a ranking, and like they all remind me, and they're all like in those type of movies in the '90s. Like, yeah. So Heather Graham, she fell off. I mean, we saw her in The Hangover.
Oh yeah.
10 years ago though.
Oh yeah, Nia Long, Boys in the Hood, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Female.
A lot of different stuff. She was in one of those Scream movies, right? Or I Know What You Did Last Summer, or
nah, Nia Long. Nah, I don't think.
Like, oh no, that was.
I know Brandy was in.
It was Brandy.
Freddy versus Jason.
No, the favorite Jason was
Kelly Rowland.
Kelly Rowland,
yeah. Yeah, Kelly Rowland.
Nah, Brandy was in.
Brandy was in.
I Still Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah.
Speaking of another person, Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Oh yeah, she was in Boy Meets World, Topanga Lawrence, or Daniel Fisher.
Yeah, I got Danielle Fisher on here. Yeah, true story. Like one time when I was in school back in Pittsburgh, I had to work at Macy's, and like one of the HR chicks was like, she looked like a blonde version of Topanga, and like she was like the top 3 like finest women I've ever seen in my life. So if she's listening, like, look your boy up.
Subscribe, comment below.
Yeah.
IG, YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud.
Yeah, hit them DMs.
If you're going to talk about
Topanga coming.
Yeah, so if you're talking about Topanga, all right, I was going to go with more older women, but like as a kid, obviously everyone was older women. With my first crush was a Nickelodeon show, Alex Mack. The chick who played Alex Mack for some reason. Now, like, she's
Larissa Olenek.
Yeah, but like now, but I was like, I'm not. That's not what I'm talking about, really. A woman who was a mature woman.
Still 90s. I got women on here that were like 14 when I was like 6. Like,
there wasn't really many like child stars like
that
I could think of. And on top of that, I always liked the older women anyway. I was looking for tits.
Yeah,
I want to see
Rachel Lee.
Like I said, most of the wrestlers like Trish Stratus. Well, I used to love her. I don't know where she at now. You probably got like old lady knees now. All that wrestling.
All right, so old lady knees.
That wrestling takes a toll on the body.
It does. Denise Richards. I watched like this goofy ass movie last night. I'm pretty sure Mike knows of it. It was like what's it called? Tanya and the T-Rex. And like Denise Richards is in it.
Is that the one with Whoopi?
Nah, I know the movie you're talking about, but it's a obscure, stupid ass movie. Like it's been on like the movie channels like the last couple weeks. Like she had a boyfriend because I saw it was like Paul Walker was in it, So I was like, oh, like, let me see if Paul Walker's in it. But like at this point, like Paul Walker had played her boyfriend, got killed, and his brain was put into a T-Rex. And it's like as dumb as it sounds describing it, is how as dumb as it was. But yeah, Denise Richards, Wild Things.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, I remember that. They actually made fun. I think they made fun of this movie on one of those Mystery Science Theater type things.
Yeah, it's horrible.
That's it.
But yeah, Wild Things, and y'all, I didn't even have her on my list, but we brought her up twice. Neve Campbell, Scream, she was in Wild Things too. She was another like forgotten hottie, Party of Five with Jennifer Love Hewitt. So she's a 6 degrees of separation type of person.
Used to like Amanda Bynes too, and then she went just shit crazy a little bit. I think she's all right now though, but she's one of them.
Okay.
I had Neve Campbell too. Because the big thing in the '90s were like horror movies. She was part of it. Someone who chose to get out of the spotlight that I always had a thing. I always loved. I saw the movie in the 2000s though. I didn't see it in the '90s. Bridget Fonda and Jackie Brown.
Okay.
And then she just saw about 20 years ago, and I just like that type. I'm not Tarantino. I'm not like a foot fetish guy, but the whole thing about her feet, I just like her whole vibe in it. And
she had a look.
It was like more balance. So surfer chick,
Britney Spears is another one for me.
Oh yeah. Britney.
I had her picture when I was in 3rd grade. I had her picture like framed.
I bought her
CD. Sitting at my desk. Me too.
I bought her CD.
Me too.
Dog, listen, man. Like,
I had a crush on her.
Sex Appeal used to have your boy in like a chokehold. Like all women had to do was be fine to me, and I would buy your shit. Like I remember, like Drew Barrymore, I had a crush on for a time, right? I literally went and saw like Charlie's Angels 2, like maybe like 5 times.
You again, the ticket collector?
Yeah. I sat in this movie. Like it is not that good. Like
jealous.
I did that with Mila Kunis though, like in Book of Eli. There we go. Even though it was a good movie, it was just like I really watched it for like Mila Kunis.
Yeah, there's another one. She was like pretty fine, but not 90s.
And that 70s show.
Rachel Lee Cook. She's All That. Huck and Finn.
You know what I like?
Josie and the Pussycat Dolls, but that was 2001, so I can't count that.
But that's like the era, like 96 to like 2001.
Oh, okay.
They're pretty much like, that seems like the same. You can't. It's not just like a pen flute. It's not like black and white where it's like now it's 2001. Now you can't. It's a different era.
Okay, all right.
So you get to that, but again, I like the quirky ones. Like Joy Lauren Adams. I liked her in Chasing.
Okay, yeah.
Voice like the screen. No.
Yeah, she's another one out of vibe. She was in Big Daddy. I was 1999.
Oh, okay, Big Daddy. Yeah, but I wasn't more of the whole like teeny bopper chicks like or women.
Oh, and Dazed and Confused. Oh,
yeah, Dazed and Confused.
You know who I gotta put on? You know who I gotta put on? You know who I gotta put on here? And I don't know her name, but she's in Dazed and Confused. She's in Major League 2. She's in Coneheads as Connie Conehead. Oh my God! But in Dazed and Confused, like she had on like they were wearing 70s clothes, but like she had like a pretty face and she had like these jeans on, and it was like the sexiest thing to me.
Yeah, and then
I forgot her name.
Even with the Conehead, she still looked good.
Yeah,
I got her. Yeah, because that's one of the movies I've seen probably the most ever. And I think looking back, I did like the whole like older like because they're supposed to be in like she's like a senior, and I always liked a couple years older girls, growing up. I kind of like the.
Yeah, I like the older women. I'm trying to think of like, when I was like 10, I loved like women in their 20s, like 30s.
Jamie Presley.
Yeah,
I think with our stretching the limit into the early 2000s, like she would count, but she's always been like a favorite of mine. Like to this day, like I said, she's on this show called Moms or Mom with Anna Faris. Like it's a sitcom, so she's like one of like the supporting characters. So my mom like usually watches like the reruns, so I like saw her on it and added her to the list because she's always been my favorite. Like in Joe Dirt, and when she pops up, like she is hot as hell. What's that thing? My Name Is Earl. Like she's on that, and she's like gorgeous still. Like so, when we talk about older women, like Jamie Presley, if you're not married and you want to up and coming podcaster, like hit them DMs. Phone lines are open 1-800-223-9797.
Suge is single. Suge bachelor. Hit him up. What's up?
Yeah,
Even if it's not Jamie Presley, just hit him up.
Back to what we was talking about. So I watched a movie, Higher Learning. Joel, you seen it? You ever seen Higher Learning, the John Singleton film? Mike, I'm pretty sure you seen it?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, like I was watching it. Like I've seen it before, but I watched it for the first time in a long time.
Michael Rappaport goes from being just like a white bread freshman to a freaking neo-Nazi in like one semester, right? Is that what happens? It's like over the top.
Well, been there.
Christy Swanson, right?
Yeah, so
is that what you're gonna say, Christy Swanson?
Christy Swanson, and then like I really had forgotten because I hadn't seen it in so long. But Jennifer Connelly was in it. She was
the character. Wow, Regina King, Jennifer Connelly. You also had Tyra Banks was in it.
Yeah, so I also had Christy Swanson, Tyra Banks, Jennifer Connelly, and Tyra Banks. Huh?
Before we go through everyone, the Christy Swanson. You ever seen Buffy, the original Buffy movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just remember. I remember
not recently, but I vaguely remember it. But I remember seeing it at the time when Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like the series, was still on, and I was just like, I was confused as to like the connection.
Yeah. I want to get back to this in a second, but I just remember that's actually a legitimate movie. When I was like really young, like in like the early '90s, seeing and be like, wow, I'm being like captivated as like a little kid. It was her, yeah, and I just remember that. So that's like in an actual early '90s like experience where I'm like, wow, I'm captivated, I'm in love. And I was like 5. But yeah, so yeah, she's in that and a lot of other women. So who else is in that again? Higher Learning?
Oh, just those three mainly. Oh, what's her name?
Regina King was in there, right? Regina King.
Yeah, Regina King, and the one that's married to Pete Sampras that was in Billy Madison. Mike, what's her name?
Oh, God, I'm just looking at my photos.
You know the one that was the teacher, Vicky Vaughn. Well, she's in it.
I'm looking up right now. Let me see.
Yeah, her name, it was like something. It's Brigitte something Sampras.
Oh, Wilson, Brigitte Wilson.
Brigitte Wilson Sampras.
I wasn't sure. There was a few cameo appearances in this. It's just words. I'm looking at photos.
Yeah, and then.
Hey, she was in all the horror movies too of the '90s. She was in I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah, I remember that.
So see, the key thing for these '90s icons of beauty is shitty horror movies. They're all in them. No offense if you're a fan.
Oh, and then I want to talk about like TV shows for like the sisters that were fine back in the day. There was a show called Parenthood on WB with Robert Townsend, and he had a daughter on there, played by Regan Gomez Preston. So her name on there was Zaria, and I had like a little crush on her too.
Zaria, why weren't you studying? I was a big fan of that show.
How could we forget Megan Good?
Megan Good.
Cousin Skeeter. I remember watching like, ooh, who's this?
Yeah.
Well, seeing Megan Good, not Cousin Skeeter. Let me rephrase that. Seeing Megan Good.
Ain't nothing wrong with being a Bill Bellamy fan. I like Bill Bellamy.
Yeah.
I don't know her name.
Okay. And then, she obviously, Megan Good, right? She hasn't been in nothing good that I know, but I just like looking at her.
Right. She's in the Last Friday, right? But no, I don't know
her. She was with Tyrese, I think, in that movie where there was like kidnapped his son. That was horrible. Oh my god.
Oh,
what's the name of that movie?
Waist Deep.
Yeah, Waist Deep. With Game in it, like that movie was horrible.
It was atrocious. Yeah. But Mike, you were saying something?
Oh, but the Jamie Foxx show. I forget her name, the actress, but she was
Garcelle Bouvet, Fancy. Yeah.
Oh man. Oof.
Ooh, yeah.
On the reruns in the afternoons, right? WB, they would have them.
Mm-hmm. That's a Haitian.
But she was in something else. later on, and she played a stripper or something. She played a dancer or something. I don't remember. Maybe I'm just.
I don't know, but I want to look up that movie. No.
Come on, Jamie, look that up.
Yeah. Essence Atkins, smart guy. The older sister on Smart Guy, Essence Atkins. You know her from Deliver Us from Eva. Like she's still like she hasn't like aged one day.
Vaguely remember that show.
Smart Guy?
Yeah, it's like vague. I know Taj Mowry. That's about it.
Garcelle. She's in Coming to America remake or the sequel, Coming to America.
Yeah, and then we talked about Topanga, but how dare us not talk about Angela, Trina McGee?
Of course, yeah. Pardon me.
Yeah,
I liked her,
and she's 50. She's 51 years old. Like that whole time she was on that show, like she was in her 30s, playing high school, and you couldn't. And like to me, like I'd swear she was younger than Topanga. That's crazy.
Yeah, I liked because the 90s, like we'd watch it all the time. All those two, but then there's another one in Boy Meets World. What's her name again, Suge? Is it the redhead?
Danielle Fish.
Oh, Maitland Ward.
I think you're a fan of her a little bit.
Yeah, you know, she's on things not you wouldn't find on Disney Plus these days. Things you probably find on like Pornhub Plus. Nah, but Maitland Ward, yeah, I find.
Oh yeah, I like honestly, every woman on that show. Now that I think about it, Boy Meets World.
Joel, you know she does porn now, right? Like
I know.
She's a legitimate porn actress now.
I know. Trust me, I know.
And she's not ashamed or nothing. And she says it wasn't something like she was like forced to do. She was just like, yo, like listen, I like fucking, I like my body, and like this is what I want to do. And she does it with black guys, which is something, regular old, like, porn chicks that nobody cares about does. But that's a story for another day.
Or that's another topic.
I'll put the link for when we talk about it eventually. Jump to back and forth.
But one last person who we have overlooked and we have forgotten, and she's the GOAT, Christina Applegate.
Oh, come on. That's my first crush.
Kelly Bundy herself, yes.
I was like, no, not in that show. It was... Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
Oh yeah, that's what I was like. Yeah.
All right, that's why I gotta look for in my life. I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's weird. Thing like my friend, we saw the movie because I mean obviously like she still acts because she's still in stuff like she was in Anchorman 1 and 2. She was in the Vacation movie, and then she was in this film Hall Pass with Jenna Fisher from The Office, Owen Wilson, and Jason Sudeikis, where she's a mom. And I remember I bought that movie on DVD when I was in college, and my best friend, he was like so infatuated with Christina Applegate, like as like a mom. And I'd show him like pictures of her when she was in like Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, and he's like, nah, like I like her like now. Like I want like 40-year-old Christina Applegate. I don't want like 22-year-old. And he is not wrong. I would take both.
She's in Dead to Me now. It's like a present day show. Oh yeah, my girlfriend.
Married with Children.
Yeah,
like
she's
that show.
She's in a successful show right now. She's in a hit show right now. Applegate on Netflix. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Okay, I've seen clips from that show, so I might gotta look.
I think I slept through it though. My girlfriend was watching. I slept through it.
Oh yeah, and speaking of Netflix, when I talked about Alicia Silverstone, like I randomly watched the new Babysitters Club because somebody said like the theme music for it was like fire. So I wanted to hear the theme music, but I ended up watching like the first like 5 minutes of it. And then I hear a voice of like the mom. And I'm like, that voice is familiar. And like she comes on the screen. I'm like, is that Alicia Silverstone? And like sure enough, it's like Alicia Silverstone. So if you want to see her now, like she's on the new Babysitters Club. So that's cool. That she went from being like the high school chick that couldn't pronounce Haitians to like now playing a mom on a show. So growth.
There you go.